Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Marketing Table Talk, where industry experts share their view on helping your brand stand out and thrive in a marketplace. I'm Lisa Perry, Global Brand Marketing Executive, and today we are going to talk about cultivating engaged brand communities. And this is such a timely topic because brand communities are exerting significant purchasing influence with this summer, with Barbie fans purchasing everything pink, Beyonce fans wearing sequins and chrome outfits, and even Taylor fans purchasing NFL merchandising this past weekend with sales going up over 400%. And we're going to unpack this topic today with the industry expert in this area, Jeff Waterman. He is the director of marketing at Pentel of America, and he's worked with some amazing brands, Vistage Worldwide, Nestlé, Armor All, and Coca-Cola, where we worked. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
So I know people are just, eager to hear more about this topic. So let's dive right in with the why. Why should we even consider brand communities?
Yeah, I think if I go back to the beginning of my career, this wasn't even something we thought about because we didn't have the internet, right? But I think there's two aspects of it from a brand standpoint. I think as a marketer, you need to ask yourself, what type of relationship do I desire with our user base? It used to be much more of a transactional relationship, but or do you desire an algorithm-based relationship, a social media based relationship, or possibly a longer-term, more community-based relationship where you have loyal consumers and you're adding value with each other and really developing kind of a brand ecosystem with your brand and your users. From a consumer standpoint, it's really a basic human need to want to connect, and consumers want to connect with the brands that they believe in, and they also want to connect with the people that connect with the brands. And I watch a lot of videos on LinkedIn, and there's a gentleman that I'm very impressed with. His name is, I have his book here, Marcus Collins. He's written a big book for the culture. And I watched one of his videos, and he said something that I thought was very insightful. He said, brands of the future will be the ones that facilitate community. Brands that not only identify who we are to the people we like, they become tribal marks because we're by nature social animals. Aristotle says we're given to community, to belonging, and the brands that signal our identity and become ways by which we go, oh, you are like me. As a result, we find connection, and that's what we're all after as a species. So I think that's why we want to do it. We want to do it from a brand standpoint to have loyal consumers, not just a short-term transactional relationship. And from a consumer standpoint, we want to enable people connecting with other people that share similar affinities.
I love how you said that, Jeff. It's a human basic need to make connections. It's an essential ingredient for fulfilling, enjoying life, and relationships and partnerships. They're make a community strong, and it made me think of this kind of comparison. The church isn't the building, it's the congregation, and a sports team isn't the stadium, right? It's the fans. And when you connect that to marketing, it's not the brand, it's the loyal community. And I think we've, after the pandemic, we've kind of lost that. Don't you think we've lost that kind of sense of community a little bit?
I think it was interrupted, and I think people may even have a greater need for it now.
Yeah. Well, you so eloquently talked about the why. So now, like, who owns the brand role in creating the community?
Well, I think the community owns the community. And the brand role is really more of a supporting role. And so I like to think of the Academy Awards as, best actor in a supporting role. And I think that's really where the brand should be. It's not about the brand, it's about the community. And so there's a number of things though that the brand does do. Is the brand is host to the community. Brand creates a safe environment for the community to connect with each other. The brand amplifies maybe trending content, so it makes it easy for people to see what other people are really responding to. And then I think at the end, the brand must be a moderator, because you want to lightly moderate, but there are times where you do need to step in for the benefit of of the greater community. And I think just summarizing it, it's a behind the scenes role, I think.
So you're an expert in this area, and I know you can share with us kind of what are the best ways to build an engaged community.
Mm, mm. It may be a little different than people think. And so I work at Pentel of America, and we can talk about this model, hub and spoke model. It used to be that the brand was the disseminator of all content out to the consumer base. And but again, with the internet and a well-run community, in my opinion, the brand is really just the grand central station where messages are sent from user to user, and makes it convenient. And so it used to be that the hub was the brand was the most important, but now really, as you said in the examples you did, it's really the nodes, the spokes that are most important. So that's the first thing is I think understanding that model. The second thing is I think a lot of brands might have the intention just to stand up an online community forum. But I think what you have to do is you have to build credibility with your audience first. Mm-hmm. And I love the quote by Simon Sinek, if you talk about what you believe, you will attract people who believe what you believe. And so I think that's what you need to do first as a brand. And here at Pentel America, we've been doing that for the first 5 years since 2018 of running creative challenges and artist spotlights where we're inviting the community to participate in our marketing, to send us things, creations with our products. And then we simply just curate, repost, and make those things available to a greater audience. Once you've done that, I think then it's standing up the online community forum so that it's convenient for your brand followers to connect with each other. The other important point, I think, is in that time period where you were establishing credibility, you were also building relationships with influencers, with subject matter experts. And so this is the time to call those people in under the tent and say, we would like you to be the board of our community. Mm-hmm. And invite in your followers. So instead of the brand trying to invite in people to participate, I think the relationships, that's the best role for them. It's the most credible way to build a community base. And then the last part of it is really, I think, to build value so that people keep coming back. So that, as I said before, what are the top trending posts? Holding live webinars, developing subgroups for people with special interests, and maybe having the subject matter experts run those subgroups. And then another company I worked on, they have done a nice job of building in utilitarian features, so that there's a calendar for when you have your meetings and things. So people want to use the community just to kind of get some stuff done. So I think that's, you first build credibility, then you build it, and then you build value.
Yeah. And, I love what you said about, it's the shared values. You've got to start with those shared values to bring in the community, because that's where it starts that strong foundation and builds from. And, for those watching right now, trying to figure out whether it's worth the time and the effort, can you share with us the benefits of having that strong and engaged community?
Yeah, there's so many benefits from a brand standpoint, that you're gaining. First off, you're providing some value to your user base. Second off, you're learning things about your user base. You're learning insights that you might not find out any other way through customer care or anything. What's working that you're doing? What's not working? What are some of the challenges that your community has? What are some of the issues that they're dealing with? And then I think the thing that we've benefited significantly from is branded content. As I say, we run at Pentel of America creative challenges, and the videos that we get in, I think are, maybe better than what we could create on our own. And they're more credible because they're from our audience and user base. So there's a lot of benefit. I think ultimately the benefit to the brand is brand loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it's not, I didn't just purchase the product. I have a relation. This is my favorite brand. I have a relationship with this brand. I participate in what happens on this brand. That's the kind of consumer base that I think every marketer wants to cultivate.
Yeah. It reminds me of a book I just read from Bobby Hundreds. This is not a t-shirt. And he's the creator of the brand called The Hundreds. It's a streetwear brand of t-shirts. And he tells the story of them opening their first store. And people were waiting for days to get in to the store, fans, community waiting.
Yep.
And he watched the first few people shopping, and the first few people, like the first person didn't buy anything. The second person only bought a couple of shirts, and he was just amazed. They waited for days to get in. And so he talked to that first person to say, you didn't buy anything. Well, why not? And he said, because I get to say I was one of the first people to experience this. That is the emotional connection, right? That you're talking about, that loyalty to wait for days, the power of the brand and that connection. It's truly amazing when you get to that level, because you've taken the time to build the values, the connection, that relationship. That's the where you want to get to with your community.
I love that story, and I think the key word is invite in. And I'm a quote guy. I love quotes. And I saw a quote by Jeff Bezos that I thought was really good. He said, "We see our customers as invited guests to a party, and we are the hosts. It is our job every day to make every important aspect of the customer experience a little better." And so when you invite people in, they're willing to be little, and it's a trusted environment. They can be a little vulnerable and talk about some of the challenges they have. And it really gives you insights into your consumer to connect with them better, maybe as you're saying, as on an emotional level, and also on a functional level with the products that you make.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you have, being an expert in this area, you've had amazing experiences. Can you share with us those experiences of how you've built and nurtured these engaged communities?
Yeah, I'd like to take one that is 10 years old now, and it's a company that I used to work for called Vistage International. And what is Vistage International? It's the world's largest CEO coaching and peer advisory organization. It's mostly for small to medium-sized businesses. And so what it is you're in a group of 8 to 12 people. It's run by a chair who's run a company, and you bring your issues to the physical meeting. And there's a process called issue processing, and you start getting ideas, diverse ideas from outside your company. Many of these companies are family businesses, and so it's very insular, so it's very valuable. But we realized at Vistage that you're not always going to have the person in your 8 to 12 people group that can answer the question that you want to ask, and you would like to ask a community. So we stood up something called My Vistage. And the way I kind of think of it is, if you watch the show Want to Be a Millionaire, there's that lifeline call you have to ask somebody outside. And it's really what My Vistage is all about. It's a vetted online community forum of Vistage members. And the purpose is to ask advice outside your group. So let's say your question is, I want to manufacture apparel in Asia, or I'm thinking of selling a product where I'm doing a licensing agreement with somebody. What's the average licensing amount? I mean, the answers to these questions can save a ton of money and also give you considerations up front that you have. So recently spoke with the folks that are still running it, and I think that the way they view it is it's almost as valuable as the group that people originally joined to be in. And it's inspiring because it does deliver extra value to the members, and it really increases the loyalty because people know they can always get their questions, their business questions, answered from within the community.
Yeah, and that's so true because the community itself takes on a life of its own, with people meeting each other, connecting, becoming friends, learning from each other. It's a great point that you make, of how that can go to the next level for everybody. Um, you know, can you share with us other brands that have
Yeah.
really excelled in creating these brand communities and any lessons we can learn from that?
Yeah, and just like empathizing with all marketers out there, I research things before we go do them, and there's a lot of good information out there. And I've been spending some time looking at models and best practices for community. So the first one, there's lots of different types of communities for different purposes. So let's take GoPro, for example. It's all about sharing your experiences on film with the rest of the community. And there's just some amazing videos with that product, people from all over the globe. It's very simple. My Starbucks idea. It's pretty simple also. It's just send in your idea, what we should be considering at Starbucks, and they take it seriously. So during the time my Starbucks idea has been running, they've had 150,000 ideas submitted and 277 have been implemented inside their stores. And so, they really walk the talk. They have the community vote on the ideas. The ones that come to the top, they go directly to the people in the organization that are responsible for implementing an idea like that. And they've actually done a lot. Another one might be you might want to create a community with your influencers. Or at Pentel of America, we have 50 student ambassadors across in colleges across the United States. And so you create a community for those who are representing your brand. And Sephora has a community like that, and it's done very well. Probably the one closest into our business, Pentel of America, which is about creators and makers, is Minted, the card company. They have a community of artists that share their ideas, and so we're certainly going to look to model that. I think if you look at what did I take away from that research, I think there's a few things. One is, again, we talk about control. You need to embrace the patients running the asylum, so to speak. You need to step back, and you're in a supporting role because that's where you really create the value, and people feel like they're owning your brand. GoPro, I think, is just a great example because people see things that they would never expect to see. And it gives you a window on the entire globe through the lens of the camera and through the community. And so it really adds something to the product. You think, I'm just buying a product. No, you're not buying a product. You're buying into a whole community of people who are adventurers, who are going all around the world and sharing their experiences with you. I mean, what's the value of that? It's priceless.
I love how you talk about that innovation, right? Because that innovation bubbles up. You get all these great ideas that you never would have. You talked about the videos, people creating content that you wouldn't have thought of, or the quality of it that you might not have gotten. The other thing I've seen out there is empowering your employees to really go above and beyond to address your customers' needs, to build an incredible community. And I say that because I recently looked at Chewy, the online pet company.
Yes.
And they have built a community by doing this, an incredible community. And they do this by, sending flowers to people who've lost their for a family member, by empowering their employees, or giving oil paintings to existing customers to keep them loyal. And that's that kind of empowering those employees to just continue to build that community. So there are so many ways in what we're talking about here where you can just continue to gain value in these communities that you wouldn't have really thought about, that continue to bring benefit. And it's such great examples that you're giving. I love it. I want to talk about diversity of communities because,
Mm.
so many people coming into these communities with varying needs and interests. And, how can brands, handle that and address the different segments within their communities and handle all these diversities?
I think this one's pretty simple, and we've all seen it on platforms that we're on. It's really just the establishment of subgroups and networks. Um, is to so people, for instance, at Vistage, if people were in manufacturing, they wouldn't be interested in all the content, but they would want to go to the manufacturing subgroup. We see lots and lots of subgroups on LinkedIn and other platforms. I think also an important part of it is allowing and inviting the subject matter experts on that subgroup topic to run the subgroup, not the brand. And so again, that person's going to invite in other people who have similar interests, and that's going to be important. I think I think some subgroups are better than others. And for instance, I'm on a LinkedIn group that I think maybe could be moderated a little better with there's a lot of selling on it, and it's the same people every time, and it's 2 or 3 posts a week, and it kind of makes me not want to go on the subgroup as much anymore. So it's important that the subject matter experts running those subgroups are checking in, making sure that people are just not using it as a selling platform.
Yeah, that's a really good point about selling, because I think that's the biggest turnoff, right? On once a brand starts selling, it's people before products or services, right? That's
That's
the
right.
point. We got a great question here from Michael Willis in terms of how do you handle and learn from negative feedback or criticism within your brand community, and how has this contributed to its growth and improvement? Can you help us with that? I think that's a
Yeah.
really big one, and we've seen a lot of this across a number of big brands recently.
Yeah, I don't think it's a perfect answer to this, but it goes back to the role that the brand plays. I think the headline is the community usually corrects itself. If somebody comes in and makes an outrageous statement, or that instead of the brand coming in, usually another member of the community will come in and give an opposing point of view, and then that others will come in, and it starts a dialogue. But there are times when the brand does need to step in. And I think that, the first, depending on what it is, I think, warnings are sometimes appropriate. And then if it's really egregious, or it's hate, or it's something else, I think it's got to be taken down. It's got to be deleted. But don't want to do that very often, because the more you delete, the less authentic the site is. And so I think it's really important to set the ground rules up front, so that when something violates the ground rules, you can refer back to them, but have a light hand, understand the community normally corrects itself, but just step in where you have to. The best thing you can do for the best members of the community, or deal with sometimes the worst members of the community, and make sure that they're being kind to others, and it's appropriate communication within the community.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. The community will correct itself, right? Usually, and I like that, and I love the ground rules. Have the ground rules up front, because then you can just refer back to that. Work Daily here has a great question. How will AI and Chat GPT impact community management by the brand?
I think that, and I can't speak to that specifically, but I think just like we're learning about AI in marketing, it helps, but it doesn't replace judgment. AI has no empathy.
Mhm.
There's certain human intelligence components that AI cannot replace, and so you can't just set up a community and let it run itself. It has to be moderated. You have to be checking in frequently. I think AI can help identify things that might be difficult to search for, but I think use it as a helper, but don't put it in charge of anything.
No, no, it's the relationship, right? It just
That's right.
goes back to building the relationship, and those relationships that have those communities that have thrived and are strong and are powerful out there are the ones that are based on the relationship, right?
And just think of the times that you've been online and you have an issue, and then you're dealing with an AI assistant and you're trying to ask a question, but it's just not getting it. And there's no way to talk to a person, and it just causes frustration. And so, if the user base is important to use as it should be, people need to know that there's someone that is there from the brand at some point that can help out. Now, I see other sites, like we didn't talk about the Apple site. When you have an issue with your Apple products, you really can't call them, and then you're in the community with tips and tricks and everything. No one from Apple is there. I think
Right,
that's wrong. I don't
right.
like that. But they have a business with amazing scale to it, and I don't know, but I always get the feeling like, boy, on this one, I'd like to talk to somebody from the company.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree with you. I always like when, going down the rabbit hole of trying to find something specific that is unique to me and I can't get it through the community, you do want to talk to somebody,
Yeah.
but it's interesting how different companies are handling that. Here's another question from Work It Daily. What's the best way for a brand to start to build their community if they don't have one?
I think we go back to what we talked about earlier is don't start it right away. Is figure out what your brand stands for. Start doing brand programs that convey that, invite people in to participate them, and then somewhere down the road, stand up your community.
Yeah.
And I can tell you 5 years ago at Pentel, we had the intention, we'd really like to start a creator community. And I realize now that wouldn't have been a great decision. I feel now we're in a good position to do it. And so you really need to establish who you are first before you consider standing up an online community forum.
And once you do stand up that community, what kind of metrics should people be looking at in terms to say, hey, is this working? Is this not working? How do I pivot, modify to make sure
Yeah.
that my community is effective? I am
Yeah,
connecting with them.
it's a great question. Now, when I was at Vistage, if you were a member, you were automatically in the community. So measurement was always about engagement and incidents. How many people who are members are actually going on, and how frequently are they going on? But I think that it's again pretty logical. Is if you don't have members that are automatic members, it's what percent of your user base is joining the community, however you define that, and setting a goal around that. Visit frequency. If something is helpful to people, they're going to be visiting frequently. So I think visits either per day or per week or per month. Engagement frequency, just like on social media, is how many people are commenting, how many people are sharing, how many people are putting content up, how many people are joining subgroups, measuring all of those aspects. And then I think just like a subscriber business, it's community churn. How many people are leaving?
Yeah.
What's the churn rate?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe really digging into the churn rate is when people leave, talk to those people. Why was this not meeting your need? What could we have done better to make this community more valuable?
Yeah, I love it. Guys, go connect with Jeff on LinkedIn. Jeff, tell them how they can find you on LinkedIn.
Just my name, Jeff Waterman.
Okay.
I'm Director of Marketing at Pentel, and I love connecting with people. I think that the purpose of LinkedIn should be to help each other. And I always like to help people where I can.
And is that the only place they can find you? Is there anywhere else, or is it just LinkedIn?
I think that's the best place to start.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much, Jeff. You've given us a wealth of information on how to cultivate, engage brand communities. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time on Marketing Table Talk, appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.